When you can be in a situation where you're like, this just feels so heavy and so challenging, and then still be in the gratitude, everything shifts. Like something about that, it just feels so real. It's like you connect to a deeper part of yourself that realizes how expansive you are, that you can actually hold space for both of those emotions.
Yeah.
Both gratitude and sadness. These are emotions that are so complex and powerful that they can literally weave through anything else.
Hi, welcome back to Bath Time with Kylie Mac. And today I am so excited. Drumroll please. We could not be more lucky and blessed to be sitting with, I call her Queen Deepa, but Deepa or Love Deepa. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thanks, Mama.
Yeah.
I love being here. I was like, ooh, tub time with you? Heck yeah.
Right? And Deepa is, I don't even know where to begin. Deepa is unreal. She's from the priest lineage. She is an Indian American woman who nourishes not only herself but her people with food, with energy work, and medicine and crystals and healing, and just lives such an intentional life in every moment and every breath. And so I just hope to pull out as much wisdom as we can from you today to just hopefully inspire people to begin to weave that into their world as well, and know that's not hard, that it is the little things like you always say. So
Thank
yay!
you. Oh, thanks for the beautiful introduction.
Drum roll.
I just like playing the drums.
And Deepa's also, go ahead.
Oh no, please.
Yeah, well, Deepa's also working on some amazing projects, so it doesn't stop there. She's also been building out her entire creative content as well. So she has been crushing it with this amazing YouTube channel called OM Made Kitchen. And there's amazing recipes on there. Like the first one we were talking about, I was like, has to be the chai recipe, right? And like, if you love chai, you have to try this recipe. And there's so many more recipes coming. You're also working on amazing like spice.
Yep, I'm making spice blends. I feel like people ask a lot of times, what spices are good with this, what's good with this, and just to kind of take out the guesswork, and a good place to start for a lot of new cooks and people that are just getting into nourishing themselves. So super excited, and I think spices are medicine. So it's really great to incorporate more into our diets.
Yes, please educate us, because I feel like there's so many spices that don't go together, but I just put them together because I'm like, oh, that'll be good with this, and you know, but just learning like some good just starter packs.
Yeah. Yes. So I wanna be able to offer that, and also be getting them from really high quality spices, and you know, getting them from different sources. And really excited to potentially collaborate with a dear friend on this project too, who is also a very well-known nourisher of the tribe. I'll let you guys wait for who that is later.
Secrets. Yeah, maybe I said too much. But I'm just so excited. I mean, you've been on a roll. You already have multiple businesses and doing so much. And it's just so cool to watch you continue to just I feel like you just ease your way through just like doing all these amazing things, just sprinkling the world of like sparkles and purple stars, which is representative of today. So aww. I'm so happy that you're here, seriously.
Oh, thank you. Full disclosure, and I'm glad I make it look easy on the outside. It's definitely a process. I think one of the things that is really important to stress is transparency. I think with the world of social media and podcasts and everything, it's really easy to think, oh, well, my life isn't like that person's, because that person seems to have all of their things together and this going for them and that going for them. And, I have those moments. I will look at, some of my friends even that are amazing creators, and I'll be like, wow, they're doing so good. Wow, I need to step up my game, but it's not a comparison. It's like be inspired by that, but not be feeling like, oh, this is a competition, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. And also know, like, social media, we're seeing the best of everything, right? Mm. Like very rarely, like now people are starting to post more of like getting into shadow work, like going into the nitty gritty, or hey, I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna share that, and I really value that. So I will say to everybody, the work never stops. Yeah. The process never stops. As long as you're in human form, you will be continually tried and tested and blessed and all of the things. And it's just really remembering that, we're not alone. Like right off the bat, we're not alone. That love is the strongest medicine, the greatest frequency that we know how to use and utilize, and are at our core. Yeah. And just really like being like present for our experience, you know, but at the same time being able to hold space for other people's experience too. We've been everything. I was just talking to a client today that, you know, we've all been men, we've all been women, depending on what you believe. But I believe that in reincarnation, I believe that these souls have such expansiveness that it's, you know, as human beings, we try to put everything in boxes and neat little categories like, you know, I make this much income, I am this race, I am this culture, I am this, you know, ethnicity, I'm this gender, I'm whatever. And to each their own. Everyone should express, you know, the things that feel right to their soul path. And it's separation if we constantly try to categorize everything instead of just being like, I just want to know what this being is in front of me, this energy in front of me. I want to experience it. I want to see how it shifts my energy and interacts with me, you know? And people, you know, now it's a little more common to talk about energy, I feel like. But even, you know, growing up, I remember thinking if you talked about energy, you were a hippie. You were woo-woo, like, oh, that's woo-woo. And it's still woo-woo in some circles.
Yeah, totally.
But I ask people, think of energy as this. If you want to think of it in a scientific way, we are made, like science says, matter, opposing force. This is what everything is made up of. That opposing force is energy. So if you believe in science, then you have to believe in energy. You have to believe that we are made up of molecules of both physical matter and energy. And so everything is energy. Everything that's physical that we can see, that's tangible, and things that are not is energy.
Yeah. I love that. It's so true. Yeah, you have my brain spinning because it's like in our tangible world we can see, but also the more I've done in the energy realms with Reiki, with energy medicine, with intuitive processes and the angel realms and all that, it's like, and even beyond that. So we're in realms of forces that we can't even see that are energetically influencing us or affecting us or, you know, even just feeling like the collective things. Like I'm sure we could all kind of feel that in the last year, right? In a different way than maybe ever before. And yeah, we were talking about that the other night after your moon circle on Tuesday. I kind of heard out of your ear and I came in at the end of it of you saying like, yeah, well, you know, a dear friend of ours is just kind of like starting her healing journey. She had a really big experience and she was saying, and I thought like it would get easier, but it's kind of getting harder. I'm like, oh yeah, once you open that can of worms of like your healing journey, there only becomes like more healing and more things to do. And it's not that you're in this constant state of like, I need to be healed. It's not this need to be healed. For me, I see it as we're all already whole. I don't see people as broken. I'm like, you're whole. You're just remembering your wholeness and you're coming back to that, right? So it's like that healing journey of coming back to ourselves again and again. And it gets savage. And one thing I wanted to acknowledge is thank you for saying right off the bat, like, the transparency piece, because transparency, is huge in social media, but also with friendship, because I feel like even in our friendship, the deeper we've gone together, I've watched you where you're like, you know, I need to just be in my own energy, and the way that you value that and you like set those boundaries for yourself. It's not that you don't want people to see you in that process. Sometimes it is, but it's you're really like, no, I know that like I've reached my capacity right now. I'm going to continue to cultivate until I know I can like come back out in this way. And so I really value you for that, because we're not all able to do that as strongly as you are.
Yeah. Thank you. It was a challenge for me, honestly, initially, because the thing is, it was me accepting that I know I'm a giver. I know that when I'm around people that I love, that, or even if people like just are new to me, I want to give. Like that is something that to me feels as it is so part of like my structure as breathing is almost, you know? So knowing that, then knowing when I feel depleted or feeling like I need a little more energy, that I have to kind of take that time for myself. Because if I put myself in a situation where, you know, I'm going to be around other people, then I'm going to go into that automatic, like parasympathetic nervous system kind of flow of like just being in the giving, nourishing role. So it's like, that's how I learned to nourish myself. It doesn't mean that, you know, when I need time for myself, I gotta take, you know, a week. Sometimes, yeah, if it's something serious, but I take the time as I need it, when I need it. And then sometimes I have to put a pause on it. Like if I have a lot of things scheduled or, you know, life is just a little busier that week, it's carving out even just a few moments, like those little intentional things We talk about intentional living. Like, what does that look like? It doesn't mean that your place is totally zen. You only have one journal, one pen, like there's no clutter, because there's nothing then for you to get distracted by. It's amongst the chaos, amongst normal life, amongst if you have screaming children, if you have pets, if you have roommates, whatever's going on, that you have those little moments of intention, like just speckled throughout the day. And, a lot of that I learned from my mom. My mom's like, the little things really, really matter. She's like, you may not notice it, but it's like, if you put $1 in the bank, every week, that adds up eventually, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a lot. $1 a week, that's nothing. Yeah. But what is that dollar gonna be in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, So it's just thinking of life that way. So whatever you invest into yourself, into others, it's just putting it into the bank of being,
Wow, I love that. Thank you, Mama.
Yeah.
And I love that your mom, she seems so like light in energy and just like a lightness of being. And then to find out her name means light, right?
Her name means love. So,
love, and yours means light.
Yes.
Sorry,
yes.
and together your love Deepa is love and light, right?
Yes.
It's
so
just like,
pretty.
what? Yeah, I love that. Oh,
yeah, and that's where
loving.
Love Deepa was born from, because I wanted to pay homage to my mom, who has been one of my greatest teachers in a lot of different ways, not just spiritually, but just also in my own evolution. And we always honor, in the Indian culture specifically, all children's generally middle name tends to be their father's first name. So you're automatically your father is automatically always given credit, if you will, for your existence, right?
And the mom pushed you out.
Yeah, but so
no,
and I've always honored, I've always used my middle name on anything that's important, in life, because I always have wanted to honor, the struggles and everything that he's been through. But I wanted to find a way to honor my mom that would kind of allow her energy to always be infused in whatever I'm doing, not just through me, but through the name. So I thought, how perfect. And I mean, everyone knows, the mother's love, and even if it's not your physical mother, but the earth mother, the mother of everyone.
Literally.
Everyone. No matter who you are, the earth never is oh, I'm sorry, you're not being nice today, I'm going to kick you off the planet. Right? The earth literally never says like that. Right? I mean, it probably should sometimes. Yeah. You've been bad, you get a timeout. Go to the moon. Although that might be fun.
No, but I love that. And even before we hopped on today to talk, we were talking about the little things. And you're sometimes I just, the nails, not that they matter, but they do. Because I looked down oh yeah, I want to bring, some sparkle in my life, you said, and it's yes, those are the things where it's no one else may notice, but for you, those little things are a little reminder through the day, oh, do I want to rush and make a quick tea or grab a Starbucks, or I want to make a nice chai and get it going as I'm I light a candle really quick, I say a prayer, I do something just to set the intention. It can take 30 seconds.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a long thing, but it's just building consistency of it in your life. So praying before meals, and we say prayer because, and I know some people are well, I'm not religious.
Yeah.
Praying is not, so to me, prayer is just intentional. It's intentional, and it's asking all of the good forces in the universe to kind of be on your side with what you're praying about. So I just think it's really key to do those little things. That's why when I'm cooking, I'm usually praying over the food, which is why I'm convinced my food is best. I'm convinced that's why the food is good, honestly, because there'll be times where I'll have no idea what I'm making. I'll be putting spices in. I'm I don't even know if this goes together, but I mean, this wants to go in the pot, so I'm going to put it in the pot, and then the dish will be a success. And there's always prayer involved, but there's always intentionality, the intention of, I want this to nurture and nourish everyone who eats this. If there is anything in here that would not be good for somebody, I want it to be transmuted so that they are not left with anything but goodness after this meal. I've had people eat food that they said they can't eat normally, they're normally have sensitivities to or allergic to at my house. Chelsea's one definitely. And they can eat it at my place, and I think it's the intention.
You eat it. Wow.
Yeah, and it's different like think about it, when you get food from a farmer's market versus groceries from the grocery store where, you know, the person isn't like, you have so many hands touching that, and a lot of those hands don't really care about what's happening to that food.
Yeah, one box to the next, and bless their heart, but totally.
Yeah, but a farmer who put his blood, sweat, and tears, or her blood, sweat, and tears into growing this beautiful bounty, like they have put their energy, their life force, their love into that experience. So when you put that food in your body, you're putting love into your body, you know? And that's why growing your own food is such a great thing.
I was just going to say, like, people, you know, homegrown tomatoes even, like people make that at home. Your lemon tree and stuff, like her dad's fertilizer, which is a whole nother conversation. It's not called fertilizer, it's called...
It's a PGA, plant growth activator.
Yeah. He has this amazing combination of magic and love, probably, that makes things grow. Like your lemon tree, I've never seen like a tiny little lemon. It normally has like maybe like 10 little lemons on it. Yours had what at one point? Like
22.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, and it's in a pot. So like I feel like that one's...
Yeah. I was like, something to this energy, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Well, I've had plants, I don't know about you, but if you've ever Reiki'd a plant, like plants come back from the dead.
Oh, literally,
you know,
risen.
Where people will be like, oh, this is gone, you might as well throw it out. And sorry, I keep looking at that plant.
That one was completely dead. It was 11s, they left it here. And yeah, some Reiki, some humidity in here. I brought it in here to get humid, and now it's popping.
Look at that.
Literally within like a month, it's just been like, hello, I'm back, hello. And I almost threw it away because I was like, are you coming back? Like
that's a money tree.
It's a money tree.
That represents abundance and wealth.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, exactly.
It's like, bring
you
it up.
See me.
Yeah, it's like, bring it in, bring it in, bring it in.
Right? And also these flowers that are in the bath are from Deepa's friend Flora, who foraged them in Malibu. So we got the good Malibu energy in here.
We got the shumash and the hanga, so...
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, so weaving in, we got to talk about your parents for a little bit, but I'd love to talk about as well, like, as a family, like, did you pray as a family growing up? When did you learn that? When did you learn that, like, intentionality of being? Was your mom always weaving that into her cooking? Was your dad, was he weaving it into his gardening? Like, where did you see, like, and first learn that?
I was really, really lucky. So my mom's always had that, you know, intentionality kind of habit. And when I was born, my grandmother, her mother, flew from India to here. And I always say that...
Hold on, baby Deepa? Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, I was cute. I had little curly cues and chubby little cheeks, and my mom would put me in bangles, and I'd walk around like this because I was scared if I put my hands down, the bangles would fall off. So I would just walk around like this. I think I heard you say this story, yes.
Okay, insert photos of Deepa here. Okay. Continue.
No, that's great. So yeah, my grandmother, she came here, and for 3 months she just, you know, I felt like she sowed just seeds of intention and love and magic into me. And, you know, she was doing all like the old school Indian remedies you do on babies to build their immunity and to like just give them like a solid foundation. And my mom told me like my dad would go to work and then my grandmother would go to work. Because, you know, my dad's a scientist. So for him, a lot of these old remedies, even though he grew up with them, he was a little bit like,
it's just mom being
yeah, that's like a mom thing, or that's like an old school thing, like science, you know? And as he's gotten older and he's evolved, he's actually shifted a lot and is more connected to spirit than ever. And it's possible, you know? It's so possible. But yeah, like from that young age, like spending time, and I remember I never went on vacation when I was a kid. My vacations were literally going to see my grandparents in India, which is a vacation, but not in the way that a kid thinks vacation. Like, I'm gonna play with my friends on the beach, you know, or things like that. It was hot, and it would be summertime in India, so it'd be really hot and just humid. But those moments I had with my grandparents, like I would not trade that in for any like number of vacations or any number of anything, you know, like that time really allowed me to see the habits and the behaviors that really supported them throughout their life. You know, my grandmother had a very strong religious practice. Like she wasn't as caught up in the dogma or like, you must do this way or anything like that. She was like, just do it in whatever capacity you can, in whatever way you know how. You know, in the Indian, in the priest lineage, you must shower before you pray. You know, there's certain things that you have to do. You have to cleanse the body before you do. My grandmother, towards the end of her life, wasn't healthy enough to be able to like get up and shower every day. But without fail, she still took the time. When her hands couldn't move and she couldn't do like the Indian version of rosary, the mala beads, she would literally just do it on her hands. Until then, she would just look at her hands and literally just
count.
Yeah, and count the time she was doing the mantra on the lines on her fingers. So she was using whatever she had.
Devoted.
Yeah, devotion.
Wow. And what were your grandparents' names? I love grandpa, like grandparent name era. What was your grandma's
So
name?
my grandmother's name was Arvinda Rao, and her nickname was Devi, which is funny because my grandfather's name was Devi Prasad Rao. And so I used to always say that if I ever was going to change my name, which I don't think it feels in alignment, I would have changed it to Devi, Devi. Or if I'd ever chosen to have a daughter, I would have probably named her that, because to me, like, it's just a direct connection. But whenever I see that name, I know that there's something there for me to like just pause and observe. The yoga training I picked was at a resort that we stayed at that had Devi in the name, and that's when I knew that was the one I was supposed to go to. Like, that confirmed it for me.
The synchronicities that we follow, that we listen to.
It's like
that's so special.
Looking to those little things.
Absolutely, yeah. And I love just also bringing it back to that point where you're like, intentional living can be in the chaos of life. Like, it's not like, okay, like, and that's how I feel about meditation and a lot of practices is like, I'm that kid that's like always like, people will take pictures of me like at a party because I'm just like in the corner taking a few moments and meditating because that's what feels true for me, and it's like, to me, that's why we do the practice. So that when you're in the chaos, you can like find that moment. Sometimes I literally have a hard time in my room when it is quiet to drop in because I'm like, it's so quiet, because
you're so used to it.
Yeah.
You're so used to being able to find the calm in the chaos that when you are actually in the calm, you're like, is this real?
You're like,
what's going
on? I'm uncomfortable, and then like an ambulance goes by, I'm like, okay. No, I'm just kidding. But like living in Venice, it's been a new shift in my normal because Tahoe, there's like no sounds. You might hear like an owl or something, but it's like nothing. It's just like grasshoppers. So I love that you really spoke to that because I think that's something in our modern day we're like, oh, like I can do intentional later in my class or in this thing or, but the weaving of it is what I love that you do and that I hope it's coming across of like the weaving of when you're making food. Is it like, oh crap, okay, hurry, I have like 5 minutes, I'm throwing the broccoli in, I'm doing the things, crap, or like whatever those words are that we say that we go to versus like, no matter what, it's going to take the same amount of time for this broccoli to boil.
Yeah.
So I can either choose perspective of, okay, I'm just going back, or can I be present enough, pausing and go, oh my gosh, thank you, broccoli. Thank you to all of the plants and animals and sunshine and rain that grew you. And just like sending that gratitude. Maybe you don't want to pray, but maybe you start with gratitude and you just start like pouring the gratitude in and even having that connection of like, wow, like this food just showed up at my door. I was able to go down the street and get this food. I didn't have to drive 4 hours maybe to go get, like we're so blessed, and just having that gratitude almost like helps you slow down your energy. And I think when we slow down, it's like we're coming back to the natural rhythms of life. It's like you can't yell at your lemon plant and be like, grow
faster. I need a lemon by tomorrow. Can you do it?
Yeah. Like that lemon tree's gonna grow when it's gonna grow. And that's a reminder for me because so often I'm like, come on, just grow. It's like you have to go through the seasons. You have to allow the leaves to fall, the leaves to change, the water to come, the everything, right?
Yeah, you can only speed up certain things so fast. And when you speed up things, you have to remember that you're gonna lose something. I mean, think about vegetables when they're not ripe. If you harvest them and then you try to ripen them like they do at grocery stores where they gas them basically to speed up the ripeness because they have to pick them when they're not ripe. To be able to transport them, then they gas them to get them ripe. Well, they're not as nutritious. They don't taste as good. They're like you're missing out. There's like some like depth missing in these things. And the same way with life, like you can rush through everything and get everything done, but you're just gonna feel like something is missing. I mean, most of the people I know that are in high profile like careers where, literally they have everything they could possibly want when it comes to the material world and when it even comes to life, quote unquote, perfect family, perfect job, perfect everything, but they're not happy. They don't feel content. And so that happiness and contentment doesn't come from money. It doesn't come from the outside perspective of success or perfection or any of that. So it's like, well, then how do I achieve that? Well, start little, start small. little intention. Start weaving that, if you start weaving, before you know, you'll have a whole blanket. And when it's cold, you'll have that blanket to cover yourself, kind of thing.
I love you.
So it's like
so good.
I love you.
I love that. I'm like, oh. And you just gave me a visual of like, it can be as simple as like, I always just rush off in the morning and da-da-da. Or can I even just make lemon water? Or like have one thing in the morning that's like, or the chai or something.
You're non-negotiable.
There's one non-negotiable. And then maybe that's the one, maybe just pick one thing to start.
Exactly.
And then a few weeks go by, you're like, cool, this is already a part of me now.
Yeah.
I don't have to relearn how to ride the bike every day. I'm just making my lemon water. And then now it's like, oh yeah, I always just like Amazon fresh my groceries or whatever. People, especially with COVID, I think a lot of people kind of just got used to whatever. And it's like, no, I'm actually going to go. I'm going to carve out time. I'm going to go to the farmer's market every Wednesday. Like you start kind of being like, cool, that's my next one thing. Yeah. And then by the end of the weaving of the blanket, you have the whole blanket of like every color of now I'm doing the lemon water and I'm doing massage and I'm doing Reiki every morning and I'm stretching. And oh my gosh, I worked out for 20 minutes and I ate really good food and I called my grandma. And, it's like, wow, the one thing becomes all these things versus like you have this huge list and now there's 100 things you have to do.
Overwhelmed.
Yes.
It's not to overwhelm us. Like intentionality, like all these things, like, the biggest thing and I would adore if I had 2 hours every morning to do all the things. And the thing is, you can create that life.
Sometimes, yeah.
It's possible. But again, everything that you create, like there's something that is going to be different for everyone, So for me, it's, okay, I know that if I spend 2 hours on all of these things, then I'm not even going to I'm going to be in my, like another planet, So for me, it's like, I have that one non-negotiable, and then I have like one or two other things that, like, depending on what's going on or where I'm at in my space, like I'll address those things. So, meditation, I do it throughout the day. Ideally, yes, if I could do it first thing in the morning, it would be great. But there are some mornings that I'm like, okay, I drink my lemon water, I gotta go. I have to like run out the door, or I have a client coming, or something's going on. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, but like scheduling time. Like I found writing it down and putting it on my calendar makes it a little more on my awareness. So that if I haven't done it like by 4 p.m., then I'm like, okay, now you have like 3 hours where you're going to want to work out. Otherwise, after that, you're not going to want to work out right before bed. No. So it's like getting it in and then like making a game out of it. I found making a game out of it is really fun. Like I'll be like, ooh, if I get this done by this time, I'm giving myself a star. Like, or this, or the treats will be
bite of ice cream or something.
Honestly, so for me personally, just because I've had food like things in the past, so I try not to do food rewards because I've just found that I'm very much Pavlov's dog, and then I'm just like every time I do something good, I'm like cookie.
That's true. No, that's really true.
It's for me personally. Everyone's teach their own.
I don't reward myself with food. I was just thinking the metaphor, but you're right of like it's an actual
but
thing.
But it's choosing like for something very specific. So I'm like, whoa, if I accomplish things that I want to do, I treat myself to extra self-care. So I'll be like, ooh, I already have my, my monthly massages or whatever scheduled, but I'm gonna go get like a pedicure this week, even though I'm not due for one for 3 weeks.
Star.
Or exactly. So it's like finding little ways you reward yourself and finding ones that don't even cost money. Be like, you know what? Today I'm gonna shut my phone off at 7 p.m. and any messages that come through, it's cool.
Yes.
I'll get them tomorrow.
Yes.
And then I'm gonna enjoy a couple hours before bed, with no one pulling my energy, with me just doing whatever feels right to me and being in flow.
So or watching the sunset, or like totally.
Yeah, spending time with your partner or your dog or yourself.
Yeah, I love that. That's so true. Just spending time and noticing what you actually want to reward yourself with. Because that's another thing too, is like we go about the day like, oh, tomorrow. And that's, totally. I've been doing this thing where like every morning I wake up, and I've just been like, sit, and then like you might go pee a couple times, and I'm like, no, you're not allowed to get out of bed until you like close your eyes and you just take like a few breaths. Like you're not allowed to get out of bed. You're not allowed to look at your phone until you take a few breaths. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes that's like, and you're like, but it's whatever, I did it. And then there's some mornings you're like, a few. Oh, and then you're like, I'm just going to sit here a little longer. And I'm like, okay, maybe a little noti. Okay, like a little, and then you're like, oh wow, it's been like 10 minutes, an hour, whatever. And then you grab the phone. But for me, it's like that reward, that's helped me because so often I was like, cool, straight to doing things, or straight to taking her out, or straight, you know, my dog who's in here with us, she's melting on the floor behind us, and she could get a shot of her. She's melting off her bed. Her head's on the bed. But for me, it was like, how do I start my day by already pausing and slowing down? Because I get that way too, where it's just like, of course, go. Like, the day is here, go. And so, yeah, that's been a good one for me. And I think you inspire me to do like a little bit more of the calendar piece of like scheduling it in.
Yeah.
So
like,
yeah,
even just writing the calendar, me time, and then what? Like, if you're not sure what your me time looks like for that day, but just make me time.
I like that.
You know, and especially if you're a mom, like I can't even imagine during the pandemic and during like when the lockdown was happening, you know, how moms were dealing with it, because it's like, you know, or primary caregivers, I'm gonna say even, you know, so I just think, yeah, like we can all be a little more intentional. And just by being more intentional, it's like you appreciate life better. You know, I realized the other day when I was younger, I used to just always get overwhelmed with emotion, but it tended to, like when I was really young, it tended to be both sides of the emotional train. And then for a long time, I only would get overwhelmed by emotions that felt heavy or harsh, where I would be like, oh my God, I'm panicking, or I have anxiety, or I have this. And even if I'm feeling anxious, even if I'm feeling tired or frustrated or angry, I realize if I allow myself to get overwhelmed with gratitude, if I allow myself to get overwhelmed with just like, even though all of this craziness is going on, even though, you know, this insert whatever drama is happening in the moment right now, I'm going to look at my blessings for a moment, and I'm just going to really sit with them. I'm going to sit in the feeling of how good it feels to have these, whatever those things are for you, you know?
What are my blessings?
Yeah, what are my blessings?
Yeah,
you know, and we talk about gratitude lists, but using it actively.
Totally.
You know, when you're having those moments of overwhelm, and you'll find yourself being overwhelmed with gratitude. And when you can have both, when you can either be in a situation where you're like, this just feels so heavy and so challenging, and then still be in the gratitude, you'll start, everything is different. Everything shifts. Like something about that, it just feels so real. It's like you connect to a deeper part of yourself that realizes how expansive you are, that you can actually hold space for both of those emotions.
Yeah.
Both gratitude, and sadness, or both gratitude and anxiety. It doesn't matter. That's the thing. It should teach us that gratitude and love, these are emotions that are so complex and powerful that they can literally weave through anything else.
It's a superpower.
It's a superpower. It's like the superpower of them. And we have access to them.
At any point. Yeah. We don't need the tuning fork or these outside things. It's like it's always with us. It's always in our pocket.
Like they have laughter clubs in India where people will get together early in the morning and literally just look at each other and laugh, essentially. It's not, they don't tell jokes. It's not like it's literally you just look at each other and you laugh.
I've been to some classes like this, so fun.
Yeah, and you start realizing
what?
And you're laughing. My really amazing friend Indy, if you know him, he does laughter yoga.
Yeah.
And he teaches that, and I remember doing that in India. We went to a really beautiful place, and with all these kids, and we were doing laughter yoga. And you know, there was a lot of people I was with. There was language barrier between them and the kids, and just watching the kids and the adults connect just through laughter. It like makes you realize that like these little things we have all connected to. We all like if I see someone and I look at them, I'm like, oh, you're different because of this. But what can I connect to them on? Like difference is obvious. Like great, you're blonde, I'm brunette. Like you are white, I am not. Like, you know, but what do we have in common? Look for anything in common. Yeah. We have actually so much in common. We're very lucky.
Yeah, you're my sister.
Yeah. But like
actually though.
Yeah, but when you feel like that differentiation, and especially right now, I feel like the climate we're in, there's a lot of separation. Start looking for the things in common. Everyone wants to be happy.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to feel joy. Everyone wants to be safe. Like we all want this. Show me, like very few humans say I don't want to be safe. And yes, I know daredevils and stuff like that, but I don't mean literally in that way.
Yeah, but
I'm
safe in the sense of I'm seen, I'm held, I belong.
Yeah, I feel like I'm supposed to be on this planet. You know, and everyone has a right to that.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah,
heck yeah. Wow. Thank you, Deepa. What is what is something that kind of sparked your, like, I guess in specifics to Reiki, which I really want to talk about at some point, which I'd like to now, you know, how did Reiki find you in this sense of this tradition? Because, you know, and it finds us as it finds us,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think I've ever known your story.
So when I was young, I would see orbs and colors and things, and, you know, I was a very sensitive kid. I was an empath. I am an empath, and I was not aware of that as a kid.
Yeah, we don't know what an empath is as a kid, yeah.
I got told a lot, oh, you're so sensitive, you have a vivid imagination, a lot. And for a while, I like lost that ability to be able to see that, or I think I just blocked myself, to be honest. And then after college, like right after college, I had just graduated and I had booked a massage, and wasn't someone I had gone to before or anything. And I walk into the massage, you know, lay down, and you know, the person there is just a little older than me, and she seems really nice, but you know, I'm just expecting a massage. So yeah. I'm laying on the table and she's talking to me, and I say, this is gonna sound really weird, but I feel like you're shooting like lightning bolts on my legs. I don't know why, or it feels like there's lightning bolts shooting up my legs. I don't know what's going on, kind of thing. And even me just saying that was a huge step for me, because normally I would just be like, don't say anything that weirds the lady out, you know? And she says, open your eyes. She was standing at my feet. She wasn't touching me, but she was doing Reiki on me. And she's like, wow, you're energetically sensitive. And that kind of sparked it. And she actually became my first Reiki teacher. And she's one of my really good friends now still, to this day. And yeah, so she kind of reintroduced me to that. And I actually did not know at that point that Reiki originated in India, you know, through Dr. Sui. And when I went to India, you know, some years later, I learned a little bit more about Reiki's history, even though I'd already been practicing. So I tell people it's always an ongoing process, you know. And I actually redid all of my attunements when I went to that India trip, because I had met a teacher there that I just really resonated with, and just to further my education. That didn't mean that, you know, what I had done the first time was anything less. It's just, as you grow, it never hurts to kind of do a tune-up. That's what I feel like. You
totally.
know? So I chose that, and you know, it was great, because I think I was also in a different place in my life when I went that second time, through that whole process. So it really allowed me to kind of anchor in something like so deeply into myself that now it's just like, I tell people all the time, I'm like, for me, I'm not even conscious that I'm doing Reiki half the time now.
Yeah.
Like it's become like breathing. So, and for me, that's a gift. I love that. I actually don't feel like that is a detriment. You know, my partner used to say, oh, like when you sleep, like you turn into like this little like Reiki generator and just generate all this energy and heat. And meanwhile, I'm usually the one who's like, oh, I need a big blanket because I'm cold.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting to see like how, you know, even if you're not aware, you're able to do that. And everyone is able to generate Reiki.
Yeah.
Like that's the amazing thing. Like I see that within years that Reiki will be something that is commonly offered in school.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you can offer classes like You and the Law, and if you can offer European history as something that kids need to know, I'm fairly certain that this is something that kids need to know nowadays, you know?
Yeah.
It's such a powerful tool, you know?
Totally.
And I think, man, if I'd had this when I was a teenager...
Can you imagine?
What it would have changed, like for me and for so many people, I think.
Totally.
Because it just allows you to understand yourself deeper, those around you deeper, you know? You don't take things as personally, because you realize, hey, everyone's going through their own thing, their own process. And when you're more aware of energy, you are able to kind of guide and flow through life versus feeling like, boom, oh, okay, now I have to go this way. Like, but think of it as, rollerblading or skateboarding versus bumper cars. Like, you know, do you want to go through life just bumping and like being clumsy through everything? Or do you want to feel like you're kind of finding your flow? Sometimes you fall off and it's okay. You get back up, you know, you rub it off, shake it off, and then you go.
I love that. When you were sharing, I felt like there's this the imagery of like bumper cars versus like actually driving. I just picture someone with like music on or like boom, 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 Versus like bumper cars, you're getting hit from every angle and it's like crazy. And and I think we both have similar visions as well for the world and what we want to see with Reiki specifically. And, you know, something that you and I talked about is, you know, a while ago, I was like, I just keep wanting this, like this nonprofit, and even if it's called like Healing Hands or something, and it's just like this army, this like love energy army that just goes out and we train people in Reiki and they get attuned, even though everyone can already be attuned in a lot of ways, but have more tools to actually go into those energy realms and then go out. And when I first practiced, I think there's this barrier of like, oh, you don't want to do it wrong, so only practice on like your dog or your plant or something. But it's like, no, I was shadowing someone, and so I was doing like 2 to 3 sessions a week for like a year and a half, and really learning and like getting your hands on people. And so I'm like, what a cool way. People come, they get trained, and then we put them out, and as like their volunteer work, their service work, so they go to hospitals and nurses and fire departments and schools and single moms and all the things, and just like get the practice, but then keep spreading that love and light around the planet. And I feel like if you don't know this to be true for you, it's like, you know, a grandma, speaking of grandmas, they see a baby. They're like, what a miracle. This baby is a miracle. You know, our friends just had a baby. This is a baby candle. This is a baby candle for Phoenix's baby and Reese and Mary's baby. Mama T now. And, you know, at what point did we stop seeing each other as a miracle? Right? I mean, like we're grown up babies, right? So it's like, we're all such a miracle. And from that space, like we already have the energy within us to be able to tap in. And what I love about Reiki and the practice of allowing it to flow through us constantly is, for me, it helps me remember the miracle within, the magic that is within us, that I think we kind of, you know, we've been so serious to like focus on school, focus on sports and do these things, which is great. And maybe even meditation or spirituality a little bit, or open your eyes more there. But to truly go, all of this external stuff is epic and amazing, and it brings color to life and it does all these things. But this internal world, the more you explore, you're like, this is the biggest place there is, this expansive place. And it's such a cool invitation and tool to be able to like play in those realms, you know, and just to keep inviting, ooh, this feels good, or why are my hands getting hot? Or how come when I give a massage, I can feel energy, or I start seeing lights, or when I'm connecting with my partner, I'm seeing colors, or, you know, like, and that it's not weird and that it's not your imagination, because I can't tell you how many times my first few years of giving sessions on people, I'd be like, whoa, I just saw all this crazy stuff. And I'd be like, oh, that's my imagination.
Oh, yeah.
And then eventually you're like, I'm just going to start testing it. This is too much. Like, did this, boop, 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 boop. And they're like, yes, oh my God, how do you know? And then over time, you're like, I have 100% success rate with like what I'm seeing. So now I have this new truth of what is imagination and what is this intuitive world? What is the spiritual realm that we're in, that we're starting to recreate? And what if, oh my gosh, what if all of us were really opening up to that?
Yeah.
Right?
It's such a fabulous thing. Like something my dad, like what you said reminded me of something my dad said. My dad said, you can't see love, right? Like if you I love you, right?
Yes.
Can you see my love for you? Like, can you physically, like, is there like a physical like heart bubble, like cartoon, like, you know,
energy.
Yeah, it's energy.
You feel
so he's
it.
like, you feel it.
You feel it.
And he's like that. He said it about God or about a higher power. He's like, it's like love. You don't see it, and just because you don't see it doesn't mean you don't believe in it.
Oof,
you feel it.
Yeah.
You know. And this was like not too long ago, so it was definitely
so
it was definitely, it's like one of like I actually got him on video saying it. It's like one of the most profound things. Like, you don't see it, you feel it. And if we start going into the feeling of things, but like not the feelings like as in the emotions, because the emotions are not us. Yeah. We are not the emotions, we're not the feelings, but just the experience of feeling.
I love that he said that.
Think of the difference of when you feel someone's energy versus when like you're just in go mode.
Yeah.
When you just pause.
Presence. Yeah. That's what life's about, is like those in between moments, like those, and those are the little things, but those are the everything. And I think that's what weaves and breeds contentment and happiness, like you were talking about. Is sometimes a lot of our friends who are in the spotlight or doing these things that have all the things, they're just going so much. They haven't gotten to, or haven't given themselves permission, or haven't even known they could even ask for those pauses in between to really notice. Because sometimes it's like, how did I get here? Why do I have all these cars in my garage? I don't even know if I like them. I just started getting them, or I don't even know who my true people are. And it's like, oof, at what point can you go, wow, like, yeah, I want to put roses in my garden.
Yeah.
And I want to, whatever it is, right?
What are you doing for you?
Yeah, what are you doing for you?
What are you doing for you, and what are you doing because other people have an expectation for you to do it?
Yes.
Like I was clearing out some old stuff, and I found all these old designer bags from back when I used to do makeup. And I like thought to myself, I'm like, oh, I can't even imagine using this anymore. Like I literally this just doesn't even feel like me. It feels like it's like another lifetime ago, And I thought, well, I want to sell them so that pay it forward, let someone else enjoy them. But, and it's not a judgment of like, oh, if you like designer bags or if you like nice things. It's just, you will evolve. You will always evolve. Yeah. Like you'll always be changing, you'll always be growing. So it's like focusing in on like those little moments, those little in-between breaths makes you actually enjoy that whole process. And then you'll actually notice when things are changing. You'll actually be able to like tune in and be like, oh, I'm actually doing this because I like it, not because it's what everyone expects me to do. Like I think, oh, I wonder if me back then bought all of those bags because I actually liked all of them, or I actually bought them because I felt like, oh, this makes me look like I'm successful. This makes me feel like I'm successful, even though it really didn't, Wow.
And yes, that's the same thing I've been going through with like as I'm moving, you're going through your clothes, and there's some things I wear all the time. And I was like asking myself with each item, I'm like, do I want you in my next chapter? Are you like my future self? Is this what I'm calling in? Like literally, it was kind of like extreme. And there were so many things that I literally like wear all the time that I was like, this doesn't really, it doesn't make sense to me anymore. And it doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't make me feel, I'm like, but I've been wearing it. And like, even just to pause and ask felt so empowering to be like, wow, well now I'm asking and I'm figuring out my real truth with what I actually want in my body, around my body, in my friends, in my food, and just like the pausing to ask what you want. Do I really want this food right now? Yeah, it's one of my favorite meals, but like, oh no, like I don't even like that anymore. It's just been my favorite since I was 12 years old. So now I just, so those are those moments for sure. And then before we wrap up, I know Chelsea, you work with Deepa a lot and our friends, and do you have any questions or anything that you want to share?
Chelsea's the best.
Chelsea's the best.
I feel like there are so many moments where I felt like all three of us were talking, and I was about to interject, and I was like, wait,
please. Yeah, please. I know. Like, should we get another
tub?
I know.
Or just one big one.
It's weird to like watch two people who you're friends with like talk to each other, and you're just like, wait.
I wanna.
Please. I learned a lot about Deepa. I feel like I don't have any questions, but I wish I could listen to Deepa talk for like
ever. Me
3
too.
more hours.
I know.
You need to do this on your YouTube channel more. Not me, but like love Deepa.
Yeah. Totally, your essence, and that's what I hope
your
to.
stories, because I feel like you don't share. Like I don't know any of your stories.
Yeah.
I feel like.
I think I kind of just get caught in wanting to share like tools and information a lot. So I'm always like telling people about like things to help them. But I'm realizing more and more that talking about like my process and my journey is really helpful. Like Katie, like, was like, hey, I've never really had anyone who I want to live like their life actually tell me honestly, like, oh, I grew up like this, or like where there's commonality.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's where also like transparency comes in. It's like to be comfortable. And I will say I'm an open book. If someone asks me, I have
feel
no
like
problem.
I've known a lot about you. Like we're always open and honest,
but not everyone knows what to ask.
Totally.
So sometimes just sharing like, hey, I've been through a lot of life things. Here are some of them. Maybe they'll resonate with you, and trusting that.
Builds trust too.
Yeah.
Yay.
Like, I grew up in Pennsylvania. I'll tell you one thing. Little me definitely did not dream of sitting in Venice in, one of the most historical homes, in Venice Beach. Like,
and having, not to mention, a beach house in Malibu.
Yes, the beach house in Malibu with, my friends, here with all of you guys, or I'm kind of here with all of you guys.
Yeah.
I would have never dreamed that. So, you can dream, but also if you just pause every now and then and check in, you'll just start trusting your gut, your intuition, and at the base of it, like nourishment, pausing, intentionality, it all comes back to, it fortifies you It fortifies your soul. It fortifies your essence. And then from that, everything is possible. Like the spark, it's like literally it permeates through your life. It permeates through everything. You know, I feel like maybe that's where like the thing comes from, where people, you know, love my food, or, you know, they really enjoy like my hugs or things like that, where I'm just like, I think it's just because I've started allowing that for myself, and I want to empower others to do the same, because we're all able to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and that doesn't mean that like you're not going to have days where there's not a lot of intentionality or a lot of awareness.
Yeah, we're all human.
Yeah, we're human.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it just means that like if you start the consistency, it means that there'll be more days you will do it than not.
Totally.
And that's going to change your life.
Yes, and asking like in the car, driving, or shower, like there's moments you don't have to like carve out time always. Like you can do it while you're doing things.
Yeah.
Are you clenching the steering wheel, or can you be like,
Just
yeah,
pause.
yeah, just pause it.
Yeah.
I catch myself all the time. I'm like, have I even been breathing? You know, it's like.
Oh yeah, every time if I'm thinking about other stuff, I start like, if I start getting nervous about my schedule or anything, I just start to go, wait, am I breathing? Oh, okay, yeah. I wasn't breathing. It wasn't going all the way down, guys. Hold on, pause. I'm good. And my mom says this. Mom's like, even if you pray on the toilet, it's still more effective than if you don't pray. So pray.
Every time I'm on the throne, I'm gonna be like.
Yeah, wherever you are, like do that intentionality. Like do that. Take that moment for yourself. And like when you're in traffic, you know, don't do the I'm annoyed, or I'm gonna scroll while I'm sitting in traffic, or take that time, sing to yourself, chant. You know, do some light breath work. You know, you probably shouldn't do anything too heavy while you're driving. I am not a doctor. I'm not advising to do unsafe things while you're operating motor vehicles, please.
No, have you ever read that book, Chant and Be Happy? It's George Harrison and John Lennon.
No.
Wrote it with their teacher, and it was given to me in college. And I also found Reiki right before I graduated, like a semester before I graduated college. So we got to chat more about that. That was a cool story. I haven't really had that connection. But the whole book is about how George and John stopped listening to music, and when they would drive and tour around Europe or wherever they were touring, they'd go on like 5-7 hour drives and just be chanting the whole time, and chanting for hours, and like riffing with different, but just chanting. And I'm like, ooh, so there were so many times that I would like turn off the music and just be chanting and singing, or like old songs from when I was younger would come up, or new made up songs, or, you know, and making it that space intentional. That's
why kirtan is so popular. I mean, you literally get high on yourself.
Literally.
Like, but not in the arrogant way, but like, you know, you get high on your own energy.
Yeah, you feel your cells coming alive. And well, thank you so much. To be continued. And I love you. Oh, yes. And it's so fun. And I hope that this episode of Bath Time with me, Kiley, and Deepa, right? Wait, yeah.
Don't know.
I'm a unicorn, or like a little bunny. So, clearly we love our inner children. I always was like, yeah, we would be friends if we were little. Like,
oh my God.
Like, we would have been like, oh.
You would have been in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
I got in so much trouble though.
I know. But thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that this episode just inspired you to pause and, like Deepa said, to just check in with yourself, to ask throughout the day, you know, do I want this? Is this how I want to feel? How do I want to feel? And what's one thing? I'm going to do this for myself. What's one thing right now that you could weave into your daily life that's a non-negotiable? Maybe closing your eyes and taking a nice breath and just really tuning into like, I've asked myself that. Maybe it's only wearing my favorite sweater, or whatever it is. Maybe it's putting sparkles on my nails, or maybe it's looking at the sunset, but doing something for yourself that just brings a little bit more of that lightness and brightness into your life, so that you can feel a little bit more free in your body. And nourished, baby. Throw in that nourished word.
Go back to the nourished.
Also, before I forget, I forgot the last couple episodes, but you take baths. You have an amazing bathtub at your house.
Yes.
I've had like crazy experiences in the bathtub.
Oh,
have you ever had? Okay, so
I feel like I've been reborn in my tub before. I literally feel like I've gotten out of the space.
Let's go. Yeah.
I've done like really deep meditations. Yeah.
Right? Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
I think it the weightlessness of the bath, something about that, and just being held by the water is just really powerful. And think about it this way, water is so gentle that it holds a baby, but it's also so powerful that it carved the Grand Canyon. So like, think about it. It's literally a place of gentleness and power at once. And we're made up of mostly water. So we are literally gentleness and power. And it's just like kind of going back home, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why tub births are so popular.
That's what I feel is like we're in the womb or like our inner kid, we all pretty much took baths when we were babies. And
It's
so
healing.
there's something about it.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy I asked.
And if you're not a bath person, jump in the ocean, take a shower, do your thing. But
water.
yeah, it's something, it's that water element, you know?
Totally.
Because I actually was not into baths until I was much older.
Most people aren't. I just was because of my cycles. I'd be like in it for like 2 days
Oh.
and just, you know.
My family didn't do baths. Like we were like,
my mom hates baths.
Yeah.
To this day,
Yeah.
she's like laughing at me nakedly. She's like, baths up. She's like, maybe I'll try a bath. But you know, like totally. So,
I'll come run a bath for your mama. She'll love it.
yeah, exactly, right?
We'll fill it up with all the good juju. I'll bring
Yeah.
herbs from my garden.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, come to Tahoe, please. Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy I asked. And we'll link all of Deepa's links below. And please seriously check out her YouTube channel. It's gorgeous. She's growing like wildfire. And the recipes are super inspiring, super easy to make. And it's worth it. It's worth it. If you want a little inspiration, if you've been kind of jaded in like what you're cooking, like definitely check out Home Made Kitchen. And we'll see you next time. Ciao.
Bye, guys.